This right here, I think, is a perfect representation of the European Union's foreign policy.
C'est une blague ou quoi? Vous faites quoi?
Une blague?
Vous faites torturer ou quoi? C'est un peu ça.
They love the punishment and humiliation. Of course, it now looks like the deal is not going to be made, as all the signs are on the wall right now, specifically highlighting an escalation of tensions between Europe and Russia. Who said no? What's the latest developments? Donald Trump has just said some very bombastic things highlighting larger escalations that probably will be following through here, as we just now got the official list of demands here, as U.S. General Wesley Clark had some very interesting things to say on the corporate media that really do highlight a different kind of perspective, a different kind of situation that the vast majority of people haven't really thought about here, even me, myself, from this specific conflict, as we are going to be going over all the latest events, the latest escalations, the latest bombardments, the latest saber rattlings, as the situation is going to get very serious, and it's going to get very serious very quickly. According to my own personal opinion, after covering this for 20 years, situation looks very bleak now. We'll tell you why in this particular video. If you appreciate an honest dose of cold water on your face and understanding the kind of reality that we're all living in now, subscribe. Click the notification button, as it definitely does look like things are only going to get a lot stranger before they get better in this ever so perplexing, weird foreign policy, geopolitical situation that could only be described by some of these bizarre AI weird videos. Now, let's just get right into it, as Donald Trump has had a massive court victory, but when it comes to the victory of the peace deal here, it looks like we're a little bit further away than the President of the United States thought we were. As right now, if the meetings were progressing and moving towards a way where the two agreed, Putin and Zelensky agreed to a deal, we would have had some kind of meeting set somewhere where the two would have met, shaken hands, and agreed to the ending of this proxy conflict between the East and the West, as Donald Trump has been a little bit hot and cold on this particular issue. When it comes to his own policy on what to do with Ukraine and this proxy, he has been very hawkish and also very dovish at the same time. He's kind of flipping back between the two. We don't know really what to expect. We don't know really what to get here, as now we're finding out that Donald Trump is taking a step back from the Russian-Ukraine peace talks for now. According to sources, as the U.S. president told his top advisors that the trilateral meeting would take place after the leadership of two countries have first met. They have not met. Why? Because there's a disagreement. They haven't met because right now there's stagnation when it comes to an agreement between Russia and Ukraine that the two have not yet worked out, figured out. And this is a situation where, sadly, it is not progressing and looks like it will not be progressing from here. What will be progressing is probably war, and probably a lot bigger of escalations of war than we previously have ever seen before, as Donald Trump, even in his first term as president of the United States, went a lot further than Barack Obama did. And he now brags about how he's the one that didn't provide pillows or bed sheets to the Ukrainians. He provided them anti-tank missile defense systems. He provided them lethal weapons, something that, of course, was seen as a very big escalation. Now, Trump is talking about even a bigger one. As Trump took to Truth Social and said, quote, "It is very hard, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking an invading country. It's like a great team in sports that has fantastic defense, but is not allowed to play offense. There's no chance of winning. It is like that with Ukraine and Russia. Crooked and grossly incompetent Joe Biden would not let Ukraine, quote, fight back, only defend, How did that work out? Question mark. Regardless, this is a war that would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance. Interesting times ahead, President Donald Trump. DJT. Yeah, interesting times. Absolutely. As Donald Trump is hinting at even more further escalations as the Ukrainians have already launched very sophisticated, very complex sabotage attacks deep inside of Russian territory, deep against the crown jewel of Russian infrastructure like their Crimea Bridge, which they have previously blown up. They went after the Nord Stream pipeline and created one of the largest ecological disasters ever. They have a force that went into Russia and invaded and taken over Russian territory. That, to me, is already very offensive. They have set up CIA, Mossad-like hit squads that have used statues, exploding scooters to go after generals, journalists, and TV pundits that represented a point of view that was pro-war in Russia. Okay, so I think that's pretty offensive. I think that's extremely offensive. Donald Trump saying, oh no, they can't play offense. They've been playing offense pretty seriously with the direct aid, assistance, and help of the United States in very severe ways. And now Donald Trump is saying, there's going to be interesting times ahead. They haven't played offense. Now they're going to play offense. What? What does that mean? How will that translate? What will be going on here? We're going to tell you in a little bit, as we still have the clips from Wesley Clark to play you. But the situation doesn't look good, as there's already major saber-rattling events that are unfolding that are very, very dangerous for everyone involved here. Now, before getting into all that and a lot more, a reminder to sign up to lukeunfiltered.com. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. Click the link down in the description below. You come here, you sign up for whatever you could afford. 20 cents a day is our lowest one. 50 cents is our other one. And I think $3 a day is our highest tier here. And of course, you get to participate in conversations with me one-on-one. We also have a range day coming up in South Florida. You want to be a part of that range day, you need to sign up now. 10 spots are only available. I don't know how many spots have been taken, how many spots have not been taken. But the range day is something that's really fun, really incredible. And I cannot recommend enough. It's a lot of fun, and you could take part in it and a lot of other really cool type of drills, exercises, meetings, in real life type of events. Again, we do picnics, we do in real life meetups, we do walks, we do nature hikes, all of it available just by becoming a member of lookUnfiltered.com. Even if you're not in South Florida, hey, look at planning a trip. Florida is beautiful around late September. Perfect time to visit. But even if you're not, you're helping other people do the same. So be a part of that and a lot more, all just by signing up to lukeunfiltered.com. Your support now is appreciated more than ever. Now, already, there have been a number of major Russian strikes against Ukraine. Ukraine is answering back with their own significant strikes, of course, using missiles, using drone systems. There was a missile drone system that landed and exploded in Poland, luckily just in an open field. What in the world is going on here? Is a lot of people said that this was the Shahad drones that the Russians are using, that they have implemented and upgraded ever since getting the drone from Iran. Now, Iran's also involved here. The Middle East is also involved here. Latin America is also involved here, as of course it looks like. I'm going to do a separate video about this because I think I'm going to need to address this. There's another bigger war brewing inside of Latin America, specifically in Venezuela. Okay, we'll get into that. Another chief ally of the Russians. You know, the Russians, a lot of their allies are just being attacked. Iran was attacked. It looks like Venezuela might potentially soon be attacked too by the United States. And right now, a lot of people have argued this is already the start of this kind of global confrontation. Now, Russia just launched 570 drones and 40 missiles. As a lot of people are saying, it seems like these peace talks have failed as the Ukrainians are answering back. Multiple explosions, multiple industrial facilities damaged, infrastructure damage, hypersonic missiles launched. All of this is now we are getting the details of Putin's list of demands in order to end this conflict. As Putin has argued that he demands that Ukraine give up the Donbass region to Russia, that there is no NATO and no Western troops on Russia's border. Now, those are the conditions that the Russians have set out that they want. And right now, it looks like those conditions are the things that have stalled and stopped the peace talks from moving forward. since clearly, listen, we don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes here. One of two parties said, kaput, niet blech. Was it the Ukrainians? Was it the Russians? Now, the Ukrainians, Zelensky said he was happier than ever talking to Donald Trump. Best meetings he's ever had with Donald Trump. That's what Zelensky was coming out and saying from these meetings. So clearly, there was a breakdown in what the Russians wanted here. Now, were the Russians stepping away from this or the Ukrainians stepping away from this? It's important to note here that there was major Russian bombardments happening during the Zelensky-Trump meeting. Now, Putin is demanding this Donbass region. This is something that the Ukrainians says, we're not going to do that. Now, the Ukrainians did hit, okay, we're open at potentially trading some territory, giving up some territory, but as of right now, it looks like the breakdown and the communication stalled here. Russians also wanted to freeze the front lines in Zaporozhye and Kherson. Russia also doesn't want Western peacekeeping troops on Russia's border. They see Western forces as the major threat that they've been fighting against as they use Ukraine as their proxies to launch a lot of their advanced missile systems that the Ukrainians have no idea what to do except for just stand next to them and allow Western forces to use a lot of these advanced missile systems against them. Now, sources close to Kremlin, to the Russians, are saying that Kiev refused this deal and therefore the war is going on. That's what the Russians are saying. Does that mean it's true? No. But we haven't seen anything else from the Ukrainians. We haven't heard this. But the Russians leaking this, saying, hey, Ukraine said no, war's back on, highlights a situation where that is a big probability of what actually happened here, since Ukraine has had a lot of red lines and has been doubling down on buying and purchasing ammunition and weapons from their Western counterparts during all of these negotiations. Now, is this list of demands irrational? Well, what are the Ukrainians getting? The Ukrainians want some kind of assurance that they're not going to be protected, that they're going to be protected, and Russia's not going to attack them ever again. Now, we're also getting details that there would be a small occupied area in Kharkiv, Sumy, and the Dnipro area. Zelensky, quote, allegedly is the one that says that any withdrawal from the east is a matter of, quote, survival, and stressing that NATO is written into Ukraine's constitution. And again, Zelensky's bringing up the constitution, saying, I can't, and right before the negotiation deal, he's like, I can't give up land. It's in the constitution. The guy held up elections, is going after political opposition parties and alternative media platforms that question him. Okay, the constitution of Ukraine, a lot of people argue, has already been violated. But for you to use this kind of argument, a lot of people are saying it's pretty rich here. Now, I think this official version of events is credible here, since there's not really any kind of pushback by the Ukrainians about this. Now, we're also finding out that the Royal Navy is, the UK, British UK government, is deploying their warship to shadow Russian destroyers in UK waters. And again, saber rattling, of course, that's going on here. As now, Russian missile systems actually hit a U.S.-owned factory in Ukraine, as these peace talks definitely are breaking down more than ever. One of the interesting things that happened was that a Ukrainian citizen that, by the way, was the one who was suspected of blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline in 2022 and causing one of the biggest ecological disasters as the left and all the green hippies didn't even say anything about it. Like, hey, huge explosion of gas into the atmosphere, into the environment. Huge ecological disaster. The left and all the canned soup people and the people who glue their hands to stuff, silent for some strange reason. As Glenn Greenwald said, one of the most, quote, pathetic and embarrassing U.S. media propaganda ploys I've seen is when they tried hard to insinuate and even outright state that Russia blew up its own pipeline. Yeah, that didn't happen. It was the biggest act of industrial terrorism and one of the worst environmental disasters. As right now we're getting reporting that the guy who allegedly did it and fled to Ukraine allegedly has been caught here.
Involved or suspected of involvement in the 2022 Nord Stream gas pipeline explosions. Ukrainian citizens suspected of that incident, which damaged the gas pipelines that run between Russia and Germany. Well, German prosecutors say they were arrested on Thursday. The suspect, as by German privacy laws, has only been identified as Serhiy K., was arrested in Italy's Rimini province overnight. That's according to the federal prosecutors.
The Germans were looking for him predominantly because the Germans were like, you blew up our pipeline. We paid for half of that pipeline. We needed the energy and resources from that pipeline. And it was an act of sabotage by Ukraine and probably U.S. Western intelligence forces that gave them the data, the information, in order to pull off this larger kind of huge ecological, environmental disaster of the century in order to try to hurt the economic and energy ties between Europe and Germany.
Of Germany. They added he's believed to be
Europe and Russia. Sorry, apologies.
One of the coordinators of the operation. Like I say, this is on suspicion of being linked to that this arrest. The explosions in 2022, the September of that year, actually damaged the pipelines that were built to take Russian natural gas to Germany under the Baltic Sea, and added a lot of tension to the situation regarding the war in Ukraine between...
Yeah, major, huge escalation, major, huge offensive moves by the Ukrainians, as Donald Trump's like, what offensive moves? They're not doing any offensive moves. That's meant to signal against the Russians, hey, we're going to ratchet it up against you now. When it's the Ukrainians that, according to the Russian sources, said no to the peace deal.
Between Europe and also Russia. And there was also that instance where Europe was trying to wean itself off Russian energy. So all tied in together. It ruptured the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. That was Russia's main natural gas supply line to Germany. Well, like I say, according to German federal prosecutors, a Ukrainian suspect has been arrested in Italy overnight, suspected of being linked to those explosions.
What a teleprompter reader. General Wesley Clark, who, by the way, predicted a very aggressive U.S. Military foreign policy after 2001, who we confronted about, by the way, came out and had a very interesting perspective saying, why does Zelensky need to meet with Putin? A perspective that, again, for me personally, I would love to see the two meet. Why? Because it means we're actually going to sign something. It means we're actually going to get a deal. There's a difference when two men are being able to look eye to eye to each other, see each other off, shake hands. Now, there's also another aspect here that we need to entertain here, that Putin is afraid of being assassinated. Now, there is talks about this third meeting that now is not going to happen, that now hasn't been agreed to. Now people are just going to be like, oh, what third meeting? This third meeting, people negotiated about it being in Hungary. Putin obviously said no to that automatically. Putin only really traveled to Alaska because he was guaranteed protections and security from Donald Trump and from the United States. Putin didn't want to go to Europe and Switzerland because this is a place that he sees as very hostile to him and probably will try to shoot down his airplane or assassinate him. There was meetings, and then the Donald Trump and the European leaders were like, yeah, we'll go to Hungary. Let's go to Hungary. And then Putin's like, no, you're going to assassinate me when that's going to happen here. That is the issue here that has prevented this third meeting from taking place, as well as a clear no from either side here that stopped these negotiations from being approved. Now, is it the best, most advantageous move for the Ukrainians to say, no, we're not giving up the Donbass. We want American troops here on our border? Trump said, no, we're not going to put American troops here on the border. Why is Ukraine saying no? That's an issue. And is it the smart move to make here? For the Europeans that want to see this war continue, because as soon as this war started, CNN was like, it's going to be 2 weeks, it's going to be over. I'm like, no, it's not. This is going to be a long, prolonged, extended war that's probably going to last multiple years. And that's exactly what we're seeing here.
To stop, and got to commend the president for taking the lead and trying to bring people together to get it stopped. But the question really is, what is Mr. Putin's ultimate aim and strategy? And so where we are right now in this is that we've given up on the concept of a ceasefire, apparently. So the fighting will go on. The bombardment of killing of civilians in Ukraine by Russia will go on. Meanwhile, we're talking about security guarantees and details, and President Zelensky wants a personal meeting with Putin. Honestly, most of us don't understand why President Zelensky is demanding a personal meeting with Putin. It seems to me.
Some people are saying it's to assassinate Putin and to lead Putin into a trap. And that's what the Western perspective is. And listen, there have been multiple attacks trying to take out Zelensky, multiple attacks trying to take out Putin. Now, if you're Putin, you're not going to go on their territory for this particular meeting, okay? You're going to choose maybe Turkey, maybe China, somewhere else that is, of course, not involving a territory that you see as openly hostile to you. But listen, sign the deals, then have that meeting. Then have that meeting. Then have that PR. Then have Trump. Then have Putin, Zelensky. Raise hands. Do the big PR thing. You're like, yay, we did it. Do that. We want that. We want an end to this conflict. The sad reality of it, we're not getting it. Most likely because the Ukrainians said no. Now we have Donald Trump saying, you know what, now we're going to be even more offensive than we were before, highlighting an extremely dangerous scenario that is going to make me double check all my preparedness supplies. I should do that anyway because I'm in Florida, but I'm going to double check all my preparedness supplies. That's just me. That's just me. I'm going to give out more tips to members of LucaFilter.com. Thank you so much for signing up. I hope to see you during our range day. It's going to be so much fun. It's so exciting. I can't thank you guys enough for being a part of independent media. Beautiful and amazing human beings. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.